All right, so I'm on Long Island, New York, and in the city, are there any checkpoints or roadblocks that people are using to check for DWI drivers?
They're very prevalent, especially in the summertime. It's a big article in the newspaper that on Long Island they have several that are being used. Most people don't know that they're publicized. So in order to be legal, there are certain requirements that have to be out there. They have to be published if there's a roadblock. There's certain constitutional requirements, statutory requirements, to make sure that they don't only pick men or only women. So there's certain guidelines that have to be followed. They have to be written rules. There have to be supervisors. But most people don't know this, and those attorneys who don't practice in the DWI field don't know these requirements. Those of us who pretty much focus in the DWI field know what to look for when somebody stops for a checkpoint, whether or not a person has the right to turn around and leave the checkpoint before you get to it, and whether the police can pursue. That's always a question that's asked. Do I have the right to not go into that checkpoint, and can the police pursue you? And there's just been recently decisions from the court that's come out about a person's right to do that. So in New York, in the counties, whether it's New York County, Nassau County, Suffolk County, checkpoints are being used a lot, and so people should be aware. And again, if you stop at a checkpoint, like everything else, once the police stop you, you should be cooperative with the police, but you certainly have certain rights as a citizen, and one of which is you have the right to remain silent.
So where are they posted? You said that people will know, can find out about them?
They can find out. They're supposed to be published in the local newspapers, but of course, what local newspaper would you look in if you didn't know where they were going to be put? But they can, if people are concerned. There are local papers, the big papers, Newsday, for instance, on Long Island. If they're going to be out in the Hamptons, they should check with the local Hamptons. They can Google the checkpoints and see if they're posted. And of course, like everything else, you should be smart about your driving patterns. And if you've been drinking in excess, keeping in mind it's not illegal to drink and drive, but if you've been drinking in excess, you really should be smart, and you shouldn't drive at all, and the checkpoint won't be a problem.
So what does it look like as you're driving down the road and you see one? Is it obvious? What will you see?
It's obvious. There'll be signs posted, checkpoint ahead on the road. Depending on how many cars there, there'll be a backup. Sometimes it looks like the truck stops where they pull people off to the side. There are times when the police officers will be in the street, and they will come over to the window and talk to you, and you may be asked to pull over. Somebody may be waved to go right on through, because the police officer's opinion, which is what a DWI case is, the police officer's opinion, you either smelled of alcohol, you had red, bloodshot, watery eyes, your speech was slurred. So in his opinion, you're being singled out and you're going to be further investigated and arrested, and the other person who may or may not look exactly like you will be waved through. Again, it's that crime of opinion that the police officers tend to use, and will be smarter about it.
So what happens if you're coming up to a checkpoint and you turn around? Like, what is the law right now in New York? What will happen, and can you defend it?
You can defend it. You have a right to turn around, and depending on how you do it, if it's legal or not in the area in which to make this U-turn, again, you can't break the laws. So if there's a double yellow line, if it's in an area where you can't make a U-turn, then you can't make a U-turn. Otherwise, they can pursue you, they can pull you over, and you can be stopped for making an illegal U-turn. And now, lo and behold, I'm sure that they're going to say you had red, bloodshot, watery eyes, slurred speech, and you smelled of alcohol. So you have to be smart about how you drive and how you decide not to go to that checkpoint.
And if people are, pulled over and eventually end up arrested at a checkpoint, are those cases any more defensible than any other DWI case, or no?
Oh yeah, they're exactly defensible. Sometimes they're better. Sometimes they're, the same as the others. For instance, the ideal case is where the police officer is following you for a mile or longer, and he has a video camera that shows that you're driving fine. So while he's busy saying that you are intoxicated, meanwhile what we have in front of you is certainly evidence that you are operating your car just like a sober person would be. A checkpoint, the difference being that they're not pulling you over for what they call bad driving. They're pulling you over because it's a checkpoint, and that's when they decide to say that you have these these serious symptoms that people don't have. Like I said, the red bloodshot, watery eyes, which really the government doesn't even recognize as a clue, but the police officers love to say that. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, they shine a flashlight in your eyes, and you've been up for 18 hours, and your eyes are red, so you have to be intoxicated. I make fun of it because it is a silly thing that they do.